Coming up on Locked On Angels, the Halos win the weekend series against the Twins, and we'll tell you why they won. Plus, we'll answer your Halo questions, including this one. Is it better to keep winning right now or to tank for better draft picks? You're Locked On with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can share the pod with your friends by hitting the share button. You can rate and review the pod on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And you can subscribe and click the bell to be notified on YouTube every time a new episode drops.
Hey, happy Monday. Thank you for joining us here on Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, for the first time since May, the Angels have taken 2 series in a row. They swept the A's early last week, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Twins over the weekend, and we're thrilled about that. Remember when we were good in May? That was a lot of fun.
It's nice to watch. It's nice to watch a team that actually is competitive, and we've been beating up on some of the bad teams. It's nice to actually beat up on the Twins, who aren't that bad, John. They've been competitive all year long and are battling the Guardians in the AL Central, the weakest division. I will throw that out there. But it was nice to be able to get 2 out of 3 wins. It didn't start off too pretty, though, on Friday night, Johnny. It was 4-0 loss. And I was bummed because your boy, the one you were watching this weekend,
that's right,
Patrick Sandoval, never gets any run support, Johnny.
I know,
never gets any run support.
That poor guy. Yeah, I picked him to watch this weekend just because the last time out against the Twins, he had that near no-hitter back in July of 21. And so I thought, hey, that'll be something to watch here. Now, obviously, it's a much different Twins team this year. But, man, he only allowed 2 earned runs over 5 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, but 4 walks. And watching him was frustrating. You and I were texting, and there's something about Sandoval. He just does not get deep into games. That pitch count runs really high. And one thing I noticed is just throwing that fastball outside the zone constantly.
Yes.
I don't know if he's doing a waste pitch. I don't know if he's trying to get them to chase. But for me, it seems like your fastball is the most straight line of a pitch. And how are you not hitting the zone? And it always seems to be a mechanical issue. It always seems to be, the top half not matching the bottom half, or however Gooby likes to say it. But it's just really frustrating sometimes because he's a good pitcher. He's displayed that before. And not that giving up 2 earned runs over 5 innings pitched is an indication of a bad pitcher. I just want to see him get deeper into games, and that didn't happen. He gave up a 2-run homer to Celestino in the second. And that was it. He's got a 3.42 ERA in 100 innings, but he's 3-8 because of that lack of run support. So it's frustrating for him. I think it's frustrating for us. I imagine that if he had the run support, he might pitch a bit more efficiently. And I think that you can really equate those things because it helps a player calm down. They don't have to be so perfect in the way that they pitch.
John, do you remember the pitching coach that was with us when Brad Ausmus was the manager? There was a lot of talk about spin rate and a lot of talk about how they're throwing it. And then when they went with Joe Madden and he was going to bring in Mickey Callaway, and obviously he was a knucklehead, things didn't work out. But one of the things that we were excited about with Callaway coming over, he was at the Indians, he was with the Mets, and his philosophy was throw strikes.
Yes.
Throw strikes, throw strikes, right? That was his philosophy. And I think somebody's got to sit down with Sandoval and say, bro, throw strikes. Your stuff is really good. You got to throw strikes. It feels like he's playing. It almost feels like he's really, really good, and he's in like a softball league, and he's just I'm going to try this pitch now. I'm going to throw a knuckle and see what happens. That's what it feels like sometimes when he gets out there. But then he gets so frustrated, and you can tell that he just loses his focus and his whole demeanor shifts. And I think that that's his detriment, because this guy's going to be a really good number 2, number 3 in this starting rotation. But I think he's got the potential to be an ace. I mean, can you imagine? We're going to talk about Reed Detmers soon, but Reed being maybe the number one outside of Shohei Ohtani, and then you've got another number one like Patrick Sandoval. That could be a great 1, 2, 3 punch. But Sandy's just got to put it together. And I think it's as simple from this humble Angel fan. I think it's as simple as throw strikes, Patrick.
Right.
Throw strikes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, Mike, he's only 25 years old.
Yeah.
And that's something I think that we often forget.
I'm only 1 year older. That's great.
He looks older to me than 25. But
yeah,
you were watching somebody this weekend and you said Joe Adell. How did he do Friday?
Friday night, he really didn't look good at the plate. He struck out twice, went 0 for 4. But there was a play, John. We had talked about how he can lose his focus, but when he's not thinking about it, he actually is really, really good. And there was a play on Friday where there was a runner at second base coming around third on a single, and Adell fielded the ball in left field and came up, and he threw a dart to home plate, and really that guy was out by a mile. Now, I don't remember who it was, but I don't know if the guy was fast or not, but it was those plays. Fast, yeah, it was those plays that we need to see from Joe, and I think that those plays actually fire him up. But seeing him come up and throw that guy out and play some really solid defense was exciting. I'd like to see more from his bat, and we see some of that in the next couple of games. But Friday, he really didn't perform well at the plate, but he did do pretty well in the field.
Yeah, and the rest of the weekend, too. The Angels won it in extras. They walked it off a Taylor Ward 2-run home run. But talk about your boy, Reed Detmers. He's your favorite pitcher on this team. So tell me about his start and Saturday night.
What a different pitcher he is in his last few starts. And this one, again, just look, this is the difference between a confident pitcher and somebody who is not as focused and maybe a bit scatterbrained like Sandoval looks like he is. Reed goes out there and knows what he wants to do. And even when he allowed 2 runs, he was still pretty dominant. And here's the big number, 9 Ks, John.
Yeah.
And he's not throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He is really mixing it up. And here's one note that I actually saw on Twitter that was really interesting about Reed. His velocity was up. His slider averaged 88 miles per hour. That's
88 miles per hour.
We're going back in time. That's 3.5 miles up on average this season on his slider. And then his fastball was at 94.5, almost 95. And that was more than a mile and maybe mile and a half up. And so he was throwing really hard, and he was only hurt by a solo home run. And then Carlos Correa hit a sac fly. But watching the Angels come back in this game was exciting because Reed pitched well enough to win. And I was watching Joe Adell, and he hit that little bloop in the 9th inning. And I thought, I wrote it down. I said, could this be the start of a rally? And then it ended up being a great rally. And then Magnuez Sierra comes up, Johnny, with 2 on. And what does he do?
He hits that triple, and he almost hit the inside the park home run. And man, in that moment, I think he made the right choice. I think
absolutely.
I think you send him. I think you go for it because the way that ball got past Gordon out there in left field, oh man, you got to try for it. So
absolutely.
Fortunately, the Angels were able to come back and Ward walked it off in the 11th. And I know there was some question about what the heck happened with Rengifo at the bat, and then Sierra was at third and Ohtani was at first, and Ohtani got doubled off, but it seemed like there wasn't a take sign taken by Rengifo, but also I think Buxton just made an incredible play because normally that ball gets down, and Shohei was just trying to prevent the double play from happening. So I think that's what happened there. I think Buxton just got to one that really was an incredible play by him. But at the end of the day, Taylor Ward hits that home run. That was great to see. And then Sunday we get the win 4-2 on the back of a Tucker Davidson start. He went 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 Ks, a great start. And JP Hornstra, he tweeted, you can see what the Angels like about Tucker Davidson. Tons of spin and drop on his breaking balls, changes speeds from 91 to 95 with the fastball, and a low spin changeup is a nice offset. And Mike, I noted, according to Baseball Savant, which is the analytics and StatCast data, he threw 2 more pitches in this game than he did the first time. He threw a sinker and he threw a changeup. He didn't throw those. He threw a fastball, slider, and a curveball last time out in Seattle. And boy, what a difference those 2 pitches make, especially he was working in that changeup. And Rhett Bollinger, who covers the Angels for MLB.com, said that was something he had been working on. So he decided to put that into the pitch mix today. And I think that was a a very successful outing for him. He only gave up that 2-run shot at the beginning of the game to Byron Buxton. And after that was really solid and very good at keeping the Twins off base. Luis Rengifo, of course, has a 2-run double. And then once again, Mike, Joe Adell has some heroics for us there.
Yeah, hits a double and scores a run in the 4th, and he looked better at the plate. And so I think this weekend was a great step forward for Joe Adell in looking like a major league ball player.
He's getting playing time.
I love that. And I think that there should be nothing should be negotiated there, even when Mickey Moniak comes back, even when Mike Trout comes back. Adell has got to be out there. And we see what happens when he's given the opportunity. The team looks good, the offense looks good, and he's playing some good defense. And how about these Halos winning 5 of 6, 2 consecutive series, 7-3 in their last 10 games.
I love
Johnny.
it.
And then we've got a game tonight against the Mariners, and we could actually get our 6th win in 7 games because we've got Shohei Ohtani on the mound, Johnny.
That's right.
That's exciting. And so I want to see him pitch really, really well tonight. I want to see him go 7-8 innings. I'd love to see a dominant start. Do you see him filing his nails in the dugout on yesterday's game? He's getting ready, baby. He's ready to go.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Anytime you have Shohei Ohtani on the mound, you know that you could be in for a win and you don't have to worry about how he's going to be on the mound, especially these days. I know for a few times, there was, especially when he came back last year, you're kind of wondering like, oh, what's this outing going to be like? But man, he is locked in on the mound this season.
Well, coming up on Locked On Angels, Trey Turner is a free agent in the offseason. So how do we convince, not just John and I, but Halo fans and the Halo organization, how do we convince him to come to Anaheim? We're going to answer that question and more because it is Mailbag Monday. But first, Locked On Angels is brought to you by LinkedIn. As you gear up for the fall, you really need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. And small businesses are the backbone to every community. And so you want to make sure that you are doing your part to support your community, support people in your community. And that's where LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people that you want to talk to and find them faster and for free. Create a job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of 810 million people. And then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring in your network and people can know what the job is and they can talk to you quickly. And there's simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on the candidates that you want with just the right skills and experience. And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So LinkedIn Jobs is here to help you find the candidates that you want to talk to and find them faster. And did you know that nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? And so post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB. Post your job for free, and there are some terms and conditions that do apply.
We want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, and it's your team every day. And because of that, we love hearing from you when it comes to our Mailbag Monday. You can always DM us at Locked On Angels on Twitter or at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Comment on our post. And then one thing I love, Mike, is our voicemail line. 24/7, You can give us a call, leave us a message. If it's after a game and you're frustrated, do it. Give us a call. If it's after a game and you're celebrating a walk-off, then call us. Let us know.
We're here for every purpose.
Exactly. Mike, we have a listener, Ken from Pasadena, who loves to leave us a message, and we've won him over as a fan of the podcast. But here's his voicemail. He's got some interesting thoughts for us this week.
Let's go.
Hey, guys. This is Ken from Pasadena again, and I just thought I'd let you know, first of all, I've never been a guy to call into sports radio, talk show, podcasting, so I'm not sure what that says about you guys sucking me into this, but I think it's a good thing. Anyway, I had 3 comments to make. First of all, on your never do I ever segment from earlier in the week, my contribution is never do I ever want to aspire to the Angels having a 500 record. I mean, I'm hoping that that's not an issue and they're well above that, even though I have my serious doubts about that. Second one is I keep thinking somebody needs to explain to Andrew Velasquez that he should aspire to be a hitter like Fletcher and not Ohtani or Trout. It just drives me nuts whenever I see Velasquez screwing himself into the ground chasing after a pitch. I mean, you never see Fletcher doing that. I mean, I can understand Trout doing that from time to time because he's an amazing hitter, and the same thing is true with Ohtani. But he'd do himself a lot of favors if he would just focus on contact, base hits, and moving the runner forward. And the third thing, when you were talking about what should the Angels do about Ohtani, I don't know that Artie and Perry can offer Shohei enough money to convince him to stay with the Angels. I mean, he gave up a lot of money coming to the U.S. when he did because he wanted to play in the MLB and prove himself to be best, rather than staying in Japan a little longer and getting great big money like, say, a Suzuki. So I don't know, short of completely overhauling the team and building a credible case to be a contender between now and next trade deadline, I can't imagine how much they can offer Ohtani to convince him that he wants to sign an extension with the team. So I think they need to trade him, much as I'd hate to see that happen. Personally, I think he may end up with the Mariners.
Hey, Ken, thank you for sending in your voicemail. We really appreciate it. It's nice to have somebody who's an Angel fan in Pasadena, Mike. Sometimes it's like a lonely, lonely island out here. I'm the only one wearing a Angels hat out here. Hey, yep. I really appreciated what he had to say about never do I ever want to aspire to be a 500 team. Yes, yes, and yes. And then it also feels good to know, Mike, that we're not alone in believing that Squid needs to stop swinging for the fences.
Yes.
And be more of a David Fletcher hit to contact kind of guy, because Squid's fast. We've seen it. And that guy, he can be a stolen base threat. And maybe with Fletcher on this team and back on the roster, he can be a nice influence for Andrew Velasquez. I do love watching those two up the middle. It's a lot of fun to watch. But the big takeaway here, Mike, is can the Angels offer Shohei enough money to keep him around and convince him to stay? And beyond that, can they offer him the right pitch to keep him here in Anaheim? What do you think?
The answer is yes. And I don't think that I'm more and more convinced that Shohei's not going anywhere. I know that we need talking points in the media, and I know that we love to grab a hold of certain things, but I don't think he's going anywhere. One, because I think he really loves this team and he loves the players. Yes, he wants to win. Sure. I think he really wants to win here. And I think he really wants to win with this team, and he wants to win with these players. And I think he really enjoys Anaheim, and I think he enjoys that the spotlight isn't so huge, because if he does go to a East Coast team, that spotlight is going to expand 3 times, 4 times, right? And I don't think he's going to the Mariners. There's no reason for him to go to the Mariners, and it doesn't seem logical. And I don't think that he wants to be compared to Ichiro, and I don't think he should be compared to Ichiro, because he is not Ichiro. He is a much different player because he does pitch and because he does hit. And so I think he's staying. I don't think Artie is going to let him go. I think Artie is smart enough to know that I can't let this guy slip through my fingers. I got to lock him up, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, whatever it might be. Artie is a good businessman, and I don't think that Shohei Ohtani is going anywhere.
And then I'll speak to the money side, because I know that with Ohtani, there's a lot of fans who say, hey, you know, like you said, Mike, he loves it here. He loves being on the West Coast. Money's not really the issue. But I will say this, if you want to have hope of keeping any superstar around, you got to have the deep pockets. You've got to have the payroll in order to do so. And I think that's kind of where the conversation starts. Yeah, I don't think money is the most important thing to Ohtani, because you're right. He could have stayed in Japan, and he could have waited to make more money and sign a bigger contract when he came over. So I don't think that's the most important thing to Ohtani, but I think that is a lot of the times where the conversation begins. And you've read the stats before of how much revenue he brings in for the Halos and how he's the 4th most followed player on Instagram. Like, those kinds of intangibles are where the conversation starts. So I think if you want to have hope in keeping Ohtani around, you do need to sign him and let him know that he's valuable, and you do need to give him the contract, whatever he is worth. And I want to believe that the Angels are capable of doing that. We know they have the money. Now it's the wherewithal of Artie Moreno to make it happen. How about our next question, Mike?
This one's from Invasion of Mikes. It's a good name. Why is Jose Rojas still? Did you write this, John? Why is Jose Rojas still on this team? His stats are atrocious compared to the atrociously bad offensive team. You know what? You and I have had this conversation. So Invasion of Mikes, we agree with you. Again, it's one of those situations where we're tired of. In AAA, his numbers are really strong. I'm not sure why it's not actually translating to the major leagues. Well, it's never translated to the major leagues. And guys that can't translate to the major leagues never usually make it. I think Rojas is on this team for depth because right now we need somebody to play a backup role, and that's why he's there. I can't stand the fact that he's starting. He shouldn't even start more than once a week if he's starting at all because he just doesn't add to this team. Probably a really nice guy, but he's just not a great asset to the Halos.
He really does seem like a nice guy. He seemed like a sweet guy in the birthday video for Mark Gubiza that they played on Sunday. But I'm with you. I mean, Michael Stefanik, he came up and he was hitting really well. He's somebody that I'd rather see on this team. But
why not?
That he went into a bad 0 for 16 toward the end of his stay, and then they sent him back down to AAA. But it's time to bring him back up. So give him the time. Let Phil Gosselin start at third if you're not starting Rengifo or Squid at short or that sort of thing. Like, you have the options. I don't think that Jose Rojas needs to be on this team. I think Stefanik, in the same way that we've let Joe Adell play, I think we need to see Michael Stefanik play. Mike King Panda 1 on Twitter said, "What the heck happened to Ward after the wall incident? I know he just hit a walk-off home run, but man, I'm not a pro baseball player, but it feels like if he's nervous in the field, it's understandable, but at the plate, love the guy. Come on, Taylor." And Jeremy Reed ain't helping. So not sure if you guys will read this one, but a follow-up question: is his performance a case of the yips or whatever it's called? After the wall, he's been very bad at the plate. I think the answer here is that after he ran into the wall and he had the shoulder issue, and then there was like some nerve issues and damage, I just don't think he's been the same guy. And I don't think he quite had all the time to recover that he needed. We really needed Taylor Ward back. And I think that he wanted to come back and play as well. And I just don't think that he has gotten quite healthy. Now, I will say in this last week, it really seems like he's turning things around and getting back to the patient hitter that he's been. So perhaps he is feeling better. Perhaps he is feeling more healthy. I'll tell you why he's getting better. I finally dropped him from fantasy, and I said, as soon as I drop him, he's going to get much better. So that's what happened there.
That's typically how it works.
That's how it works. Just the world revolves around me and my fantasy team. But when it comes to Taylor Ward, I just think that he needed time to recover, and it looks like he is on the healthier side of things right now. How about our next question, Mike?
Is it better to try and keep winning right now, or most likely end up as a team that's going to tank? So this question really is about, should we try to get to 500 or should we try to tank to get better draft picks? And the reality is, like, draft picks, whether we're number 1 or whether we're like 13, you're going to get a really good guy in that first round. And so I think the Angels are really going to try to battle back this season. And you've seen that in the last 2 series. And I prefer, as a fan, I'd prefer to see that because Perry Manassian has proven to be a really great draft GM and to be able to have the people around him to select some good players and to make the right trades. I don't know if you've paid attention or not, but Logan O'Hoppe has really been tearing it up in the minor leagues. And then Jordan Adams and Zach Neto are a great 1-2 punch.
Back-to-back home runs the other day.
Those guys look fantastic. Like, I'm ready for them to come up. And so
no kidding.
I don't think that it would be wise. I hate finishing at 500, but I would love to see this team fight back and get to 500 because I think how you end this season will influence what happens at the beginning of the next season. That's
a really great point. I forgot to mention that this is from Alex Chavez on Twitter, by the way. But yeah, that's a good question. And I also think you never want to stop trying to win. I don't think you ever want to lose that mentality. I mean, look, we've lost enough this season, and we saw how it affected the players and how it affected their mental state. And then look at how much fun everybody was having on Saturday and Sunday. The crowds were into it. The players were into it. And I know that it really goes to show, like, oh, they had fun on Saturday and Sunday. Like, yep, woohoo, this season is a write-off. But yeah, I really think that it's important to keep these guys happy, to keep them, their spirits high, and to continue their winning ways. Cause like you said, I think that carries into next season for sure.
Yep.
And we're 10 games back of a wild card spot.
Yeah. Remember Herm Edwards? He coached the Jets. You play to win the game, right? That's all I can think about there. Hey, Locked On Angels is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. You can find all your sports information, events, all that good stuff at BetOnline. They're the number one source for odds and lines and games. You can find reviews and league news of every league, in fact, baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, sports, and even podcasts. They have you covered. So head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the actions happening today. BetOnline is where the game starts.
Mike, we've got 2 voicemails I want to play back to back because they are very similar in the idea and the thought there. So let's start with this one. Let's go to Ryan from Bakersfield.
Hey, it's Ryan from Bakersfield, and I had a question about this offseason. Obviously, shortstop is a big position of need, and there's going to be some big names available this offseason, like Dansby Swanson, Trey Turner, maybe even Correa and Bogaerts. And so I was just wondering, what you think the chances are we can acquire a shortstop like that. I would assume, sadly, they are pretty slim. If a contender makes a better pitch than us. But I was just wondering what your take is. So thanks. Love the podcast. Go Halos.
Ryan, thanks for your message, man. And then to piggyback off that, we've got Anthony from Paris, and then Mike will answer these back to back here.
Hey guys, this is Anthony calling from Paris. So I just had a question about free agency that's coming up. You guys keep saying bring in someone like Trey Turner as shortstop. And my question is, how do we convince somebody like that to join this organization? I mean, I'm sure he wants to be on a winning team, and how do we convince him that him joining this team will be good for him or good for anybody that we're trying to convince to join this team? That's pretty much all I have. Love this podcast, guys. Keep it up. Thanks for taking my call. Bye.
So, Mike, I think that we had a really good point from Ryan in that there are some great names out there. We've mentioned Dansby Swanson, Trey Turner. We've got Carlos Correa, who is likely opting out of his Twins contract after this season, and then Xander Bogaerts as well. And so there are lots of great free agents out there, especially the middle infield. And then Anthony from Paris kind of brought up the question, how do you convince somebody like Trey Turner to join the Angels? Why would they want to do that? What do you think?
I think the beginning of this year is what you tell a free agent. What we did at the beginning of this season is the team that we are. And then we got hurt and things kind of fell apart, and we lost Rendon, and then we lost Ward, and we had some struggles in between. And so I think that Perry has proven to be a great pitch guy. I mean, that's why Noah Syndergaard came out here. And so I think he sits down with a Trey Turner and he says to Trey, listen, here's the move. Here's what you can do. And I think that it would be an incredible move, an incredible get to get Trey Turner. And I think that that's how you convince him to come here. But I do want to throw a name out there that hasn't been talked about, but you actually talked about trading for him earlier this year. He's a free agent. He's 28 and he plays for the Padres. His name is Brandon Drury. And Brandon's only making $900,000 this year. And so the projection of what he will make in free agency is not even projected yet. I went to spottrack.com. They talk about all of that stuff. They don't have a projection for him. So if we're going to save some money, but we're going to get a good bat, I think it would be smart to go and get a Brandon Drury and possibly slot him in at second base or slot him in at shortstop.
Oh, that's a really interesting approach to it. Yeah, I think that they got to get somebody like a Trey Turner or a Dansby Swanson to just prove that they mean business. But the other thing that I really liked that Jeff Fletcher, when we interviewed him about his book, one thing that he said, Mike, was not everybody goes to the Dodgers. Not everybody signs with the Yankees. I mean, Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, two of the biggest free agents and infielders, ended up with the Rangers. And no offense to the Rangers, but they weren't going to win this year. They weren't going to win this season. It's going to take some time. And I think if you sign a player to a long-term contract, it's with the idea that, like, hey, we're working our way back. We're going to build and we're going to put a contending team on the field. So I think you see examples all the time of players who don't necessarily sign with the players that are guaranteed to go to the World Series. I mean, I think about the Dodgers. They've traded for most of their big starters and their big players.
Yep.
And when I think about the Mets, I mean, they went out and signed Scherzer. They got Starling Marte. They got Mark Canha. So they did a lot of work to get those guys on their team and be contenders. But again, I mean, the Mets are a great team and they can spend money, but it wasn't necessarily a guarantee this season that they were going to get to the World Series, maybe the playoffs. But to sign free agents like that, I don't think that these guys always have like winning in mind. They want to go to a team that is going to take care of them and possibly be good in the next few years. And I think the Angels have the potential to be good next year if they get the right pieces in play. Hey, Eric Acosta had an interesting question about Albert Pujols' 10-year personal service contract when he retires. It's kind of a quick answer there in terms of what that means. So think about the history of the Angels signing Pujols. They wanted to compete with the Cardinals. And I think, and a lot of speculation on the internet, Mike, is that the Angels wanted Pujols to be associated with the Angels at the end of his career and not the Cardinals. In fact, they don't even do personal services contracts like this anymore. That was the contract that MLB and the Players Association said, all right, no more of this.
Yeah.
And so when it came to Pujols and this 10-year deal that happens when he retires, personal services can be, filling in as a coach or offering some instruction to the players. And it's a 10-year, $1 million a year kind of contract. But at the end of the day, Pujols can say no. And I think what the Angels wanted to do was, hey, let's get him for the long haul, even after his contract is up. And he's got to ask permission to do anything with the Cardinals or any other teams. And if he does take on this personal services contract, but at the end of the day, he doesn't have to. And I'm not sure that he will, but I mean, I wouldn't mind having him around the clubhouse and helping some of these guys out, but he hasn't been a coach yet. He hasn't done anything like that. I could see him better suited as a full-time role, probably in the Card system.
I think that was more for the Angels wanting to incentivize when you go into the Hall of Fame, you put an Angel cap on, and he's not going to do that. He's going to put the Cardinals cap on because that's when he won a World Series and he played really, really well. John, Steve Han 7 asked, upcoming free agents, who would be your number one target? You and I've talked about Trey Turner. We've talked about Dansby Swanson. Can I throw a name out there that I think would be great for left field? And that's Andrew Benintendi.
Yes.
Andrew, I think it could be a cheap solution, cheap in the sense of like comparative to other outfielders. But I think Benintendi could be a cheap solution. He hits over 300, and I think he'd be great at the top of that lineup, perhaps even leading off, and could be somebody that is going to be an influential cog in the wheel when this lineup is healthy. Can you imagine Benintendi and then maybe Trout and Ohtani and Rendon and then Ward, or in some order that way? That lineup looks really, really great. And again, he makes contact. He doesn't strike out a lot, and he hits over 300. I think that could be a really great move for the Halos.
Yeah, instead of repeating myself with Swanson and Turner, I think Trey Mancini could be a great option. I know that Jared Walsh has had his struggles, and I would like to see him be remain the first baseman. But if you want to do kind of a platoon thing, like I think Mancini and Walsh could actually end up being a great pairing. And if you need Walsh in the outfield, he is certainly capable of playing out there as well. We know that depth is our strong struggle, I should say. And if somebody were to go down and we need an outfielder, I think Walsh could fill in there as well. But I'd like to see a tandem of Mancini and Walsh. So that's a possibility. Hey, Mike, it's Claudia Rose asks, what's your favorite player nicknames, or what player would you give a nickname to? What are some of your favorite players?
I love Kingfish. Tim Salmon's my favorite, so Kingfish is great.
And Kidfish, I like that for Trout. Like, I think that's a great pairing.
Was really great. You have a great story about your interaction with Roger Lodge.
I thought you were going to bring this up.
Yes, and it was about Garrett Richards. Roger Lodge was talking about when Garrett was on our team about what nickname we could give him. So you actually called in. This was John's claim to fame. This is before podcast time.
Yes.
This is before John is a celeb, and so So, John, tell us the story quickly.
This was 2014, and for some reason, in our friend group, we kept saying, "Oh yeah, get it." So we would say the words "get it" all the time when something was cool. So I called Roger and I acted like a big Halo honk, and I said, "How about get it, Garrett Richards?" And he said, "Is that it?"
Well, hold on. There was a long pause.
Yes,
and then he said, "That it? What else you got?"
I was like, "You wanted a nickname, Roger. I gave you one." I've always liked Jared Weaver, of course, being a dirtbag because he pitched at Long Beach. And I'm trying to think of, Big Poppy's a classic one. I love Panda for Pablo Sandoval. That was a great name. So just so many fun nicknames out there. And I think I like Squid. We got to get more nicknames on these Halos. You know,
Squid's got to perform, and then that name would actually be endeared to our team instead of like, oh yeah, we like you, but you got to hit, bro.
You got to hit, man. All right, last question, Mike. Jeffrey Rame on Instagram said, "Does Andy Kamenetsky really love bread?" Listen, Andy Kamenetsky loves bread. It's got to be the right kind of bread.
That's good. That's good.
So don't doubt Andy Kamenetsky because he loves bread.
He's full of integrity.
Listen, Dave's Killer Bread is actually really good. We buy it all the time. So shout out to them. Yeah. We got to get them. To send us some bread or something like that.
Heck yeah. Well, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB podcast with Paul Francis Sullivan. He brings humor, passion, and his unique perspective on every team and shares some of the biggest stories from around the league. You can follow the podcast Locked On MLB on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, give us a oh wait, sorry, gotta get back to my book. Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter, and of course at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe if you're on YouTube. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, so thank you to everybody who's given us a sub on YouTube. We appreciate you, Mike. What do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
David Fletcher is the key to the Halo's success, and we're going to tell you why tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
I like that conversation. I love me some David Fletcher. All right, until tomorrow's show, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
And we'll see you right back here tomorrow for more Locked On Angels.